Gary is an ex-prisoner and used to work with Glen and me on the project. He was released from prison a few months ago. But we still keep in contact with him and we still do presentations with him.
I've been in prison with a lot of young lads that were school age when they used the knife and actually attacked somebody who are now serving life sentences, you know, and they had no intention of using that knife, and that's how easy it can be. You're better off not carrying one or getting involved in the first place.
Now, the problem is there's no Young Offenders Institute for girls. They will get sent straight to an adult woman's jail. So if you're between the age of 17 and 21, you will be sent straight to an adult woman's jail. You know, now again, that's not funny. You imagine being a 17-year-old girl that's suddenly got to share a cell with a 30 or 40-year-old woman that might be a heroin addict, you know, was also a prostitute, and she could even still be using drugs while she's in prison. Now you're sharing this cell with her, and she's been getting her drugs, and the way it normally works in prison is quite often you actually get your drugs up front and then pay for them when you get your stuff at the end of the week. And quite often people will get themselves into debt over drugs and they can't afford to pay for it. So the dealers come to collect. Obviously she's not able to pay for it, so what do? They possibly actually take some of your stuff off you to pay her debt because you're sharing the cell with her. Or if they come in to give her a good hiding, which is more than usually what happens, because you're there, you might get a good hiding as well, just to make sure that you keep your mouth shut. Because one thing you don't do in prison is grass. You know, you just don't do it at all.
I've spent most of my life making rash decisions and just jumping in head first, and it's cost me a huge amount, you know, and it will cost me for the rest of my life. You know, and that's what I'm saying. And for me, it all started off at 11, and I'm now 35, looking back over a 20-year history, wondering, you know, how I ever first got started on it. And that's what I'm saying. That's how easy it is, just by bowing to that peer pressure, you know, without taking that step back.
She started taking methadone and abusing it, and this is what she looked like only after 2 years.
Most young people, you know, when they hear that they're going to get a talk given to them by an ex-criminal, you know, they imagine a gangster, and like I said before, you know, they think it's all going to be glorified, and that's what I'm going to talk about. But you know, usually I tend to find that within the first 5 minutes of actually starting to talk, I've generally got the audience gripped and the young people gripped, because again, it's all about having somebody up in front of them that's really been through it, rather than a teacher or a police officer or even a parent actually talking about, you know, what they've read out of a magazine or a book. And I think that's the difference, really. You know, they're hearing it from the horse's mouth about what it's really like.